Welcome to test, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man, I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. So I have Magnus Carlsen versus Matfey Rogov. And this is titled Tuesday Grand Prix 2025 for all the marbles. Nah, I'm playing with you. But, you know, this is Magnus Carlsen saying, you know what, I'm going to do the sleep Gambit. Nah, I'm playing. He didn't really sleep, but I'm just saying, look at the picture, homie. Anyways, all of my people that are coming from the Philippines, I will say Maraming Salamat. Anybody who is coming from Norway, I will say Tusen Tak. Anybody who is coming from Russia, I will say Bolshoye Spasiba. But without any further delay, let's take a look and see what we got for this game, homie. See what kind of magic we got on the board. We got the move D4. We got D5. This is probably going to be about 70% of the time that you play D4, you will see D5, so be prepared. We got the move C4, and then we have knight to C6. Now, I mean, we're kind of taking a step off the trodden path just a little bit. It is not super common that you see the Chigorin defense. You know, usually you see this C-pawn either go like a Slav, some people like to Slav, or you kind of go here at some point after like a Queen's Gambit decline type situation, but it is a little bit more rare. And so Magnus Carlsen, on top of being sleep, he says, hey man, this is right up my alley because I love getting out of theory. So we do see the move knight to C3, we got pawn taking D4, we do see the move D5, and you kind of come to a branching point. You know, you have a couple different options. You have like the lazy knight B4, the lazy knight A5. You got knight going back to B8. But one of the better moves is going to go knight to E5, just centralizing your knight. And Magnus Carlsen decides that he's going to go knight to F3 to take more steps further down. Wow, my blurry homie. Let's go. Come on, son. Thank you. Take more steps down out of theory. You know, you always have the option to kind of play kind of in Eliakin style and to go maybe F4 and then the knight go back to G6 and you got E4, then E6. The only thing is when you do kind of get into these types of situations, you know, you have Eliakin kind of going over here. You know, sometimes you can put your pawns kind of a little bit too far out there and you basically your opponent just starts breaking you down. So, you know, that is kind of one of the dreams of opponents when they're playing these types of game. But like I said, we do see knight going to F3. Not the absolute best move, but we are sidestepping theory quite a bit. You got knight taking F3, pawn taking F3, and now we do have both of our bishops open. So Magnus Carlsen is saying, hey, man, I know I have a bad structure kind of, you know, but I do have a very active bishops going on. So, I mean, we're pretty good. We do see the move E6. We got bishop taking C4, and then Rogov is trying to set up kind of like a Scandinavian structure. You guys who played a Scandi or even the Carol Khan are familiar with this type of a structure. It's almost kind of like a V, homie. We do see pawn taking E6, and it's kind of crazy because, you know, this structure, like the Scandinavian / Carol Khan structure, is a little bit hard to break down if you are white. So this is a very desirable move here. Even this move right here, just trying to get rid of the structure being so solid is a logical idea. So, I mean, pawn takes E6 being the novelty is crazy to me. But this is the first time we have ever seen this position here. And of course, we got Rogov going queen taking D1 with check. We got to kind of inconvenience the king a little bit, or make your knight kind of go back, back on the board so that we can make you spend another move trying to get that back out. But we do see king taking D1. The queens are off the board, so the danger is not as high. Now, we do see bishop taking E6, bishop taking E6, pawn taking E6. So, yes, Magnus has a little bit of damage right here with these double pawns, but at least he was able to kind of go down swinging and give Rogov a little bit of, damage on their structure as well. So, you know, we're pretty much into an endgame where Magnus Carlsen loves to be. So, you are appreciating life if you are Magnus. We got king going to E2. We got knight coming to F6. We got bishop going to E3. Knight goes over to D5. And Rogov is basically dreaming that Magnus Carlsen drops like maybe 300 rating points or even 500 rating points and doesn't understand that he should not do this. He's hoping for like a knight to D5. And then basically Magnus kind of gives Rogov a band-aid. And he says, hey, man, you're welcome for helping you fix your structure. Obviously, Magnus Carlsen is not about that life, so he decides to go ahead and just simply play A4. If you want to trade with me on C3, be my guest. It just kind of opens lines from my bishop anyway. And always we are looking forward to this move, thinking that you're going to get a bishop off the board because then it corrects my structure, and my structure is good. Your structure is damaged. We do see bishop going to b4. You know, this move a4, it is trying to gain some space, but it does put a hole on this square. So anytime you push these rook pawns like so, you probably are going to be creating a hole on these squares. So, you know, usually you kind of have some ideas of putting maybe bishops or knights or something like that on those squares, and they can live there forever. We do see the move knight to e4. There was way too much pressure on the c3 point, so we have to do something about that. We got knight e4, like I said, castles, long castles by black. We got the move a5, gaining more space. And since we're in an in-game, you kind of do have some in-game ideas, but you also just really just kind of want to push this pawn up here. You know, maybe give yourself a little point here on b7, but you're trying to destroy this pawn cover in front of the king. So that you can checkmate him and go home. Well, actually, these players are home because they're playing they're playing Title Tuesday, which is on the computer. So what am I saying? But we do see the move a6. Now, something that's subtle that you guys might notice is this pawn is now kind of really cramping these two pawns' style. And we call that the pawn freeze. So I will put up here a card to my pawn freeze video that I did 4+ years ago. Kind of, you know, explaining a little bit of, you know, kind of the, you know, the details of, you know, freezing pawns in the endgame. We do see the rook going to a4. If we can ever kind of dream and get this knight literally off of this square, we can win this bishop for free. But it's kind of hard because we don't really have a bishop that can contest this light square. So we're kind of dreaming. We do see the move e5. We got the rook going over to c1, getting our last piece into play. The rook goes to d7. We do see the move g3. The knight possibly can go here, and it's not the end of the world if we trade the bishop for the knight and correct black structure. Like I said, you always have to be kind of careful, you know, when you are looking at doing trades. Is it going to be helping your opponent after it's all said and done? We do see rook h to d8. Now, it kind of seems pretty strong for black because, I mean, they pretty much somewhat taken over this file right here. But, you know, looks can be deceiving sometimes. We do see bishop going to c5, and you really don't have anything better than to trade. The bishop takes on c5. We got knight taking on c5, and then we do see rook down to d6. Now, the differences in the position that you should be looking at, you know, you do have double pawns if you are white. You got this isolated pawn if you are black. So structurally, they're kind of similar. The major difference is you have Magnus Carlsen has a knight that is further in black's territory. They have this pawn that's really kind of getting some space right here. So if you look at where black's pieces are compared to white's pieces, you would kind of understand why it's saying plus, you know, 0.9 for Magnus. This knight is not positioned as well as this one. These rooks are a little bit blocked at the moment and stuff like that. So it kind of seems like white just kind of has the freedom to do a little bit more. We do see rook sliding over to e4. Why not hit this pawn? And then we do see knight going to f6. And the computer decides that knight to f6 is a blunder. Now, I'm not 100% sure why the computer just really hates this move desperately. But you do kind of have to find a specific move if you are Magnus. Because you have to actually go on the defensive, even though you're plus like 3. The move is rook to b4, and this is protecting. It's not only protecting the b2 square, because, you know, this check is going to be coming at some point. It is also attacking this b7 pawn, which is a very weak pawn in black's position. Going back in the position, I really think a lot of people would be looking at the position and say, hey, man, I'll move rook to e4. I mean, I did it so I could, you know, attack this pawn, and now it's free. The only problem is you give black a little bit too much activity for taking that pawn. So if we did see that move right there, you would be looking at rook to d2 a check, and then, you know, wherever you kind of moved, you know, as white, you would be giving up your b2 pawn. And the problem is this rook is going to be coming down. Not only that, but the rook was over here before kind of attacking the weak point in black's position. Now it's not. So it's, you know, it gives you a little bit of a different, you know, perception of the situation when you allow all of that. So like I said, Magnus being the strong player that he is, even though he's asleep right now, you see him in the picture, you know, rook to b4 is the absolute best move in the position. You do still have the rook to d2 check, but you have king down to e1. And now this resource right here is not a resource. And even though this looks really good for black, there really isn't nothing you can do with this rook. You absolutely can't go to d1 because you'd be losing both of your rooks. So, I mean, it's not as nice as it seems. We got knight going down to d5, and then we do see a rook taking b7. And the problem with this position is not only does it put a rook on the 7th rank, you know, basically this pawn was the pawn that was supporting all of black's structure on the queen side. So, I mean, pretty much it's only a matter of time before these pawns really kind of start, you know, chucking deuces and saying, I'm going to head out. Like SpongeBob, we do see rook going up to d4. We got rook going over to a7. King goes to b8, which that really isn't an attack because the rook is wanting to take on a6 anyway, which is what we see. We got knight down to b4. And we're really hoping that on a good day, as Yasashiro would say, we can get this check in and everything's going to be everything. But we do not see that. You know, Rogov is not going to get enough time to do that. We do see rook to b6 with check. And then we see king going to c7. And we have actually reached a point in the game. There is a really, really nice tactic that we see in the position. And Magnus Carlsen finishes the game with this. If you want to go ahead and pause the video and try to guess that move, go ahead and do so. Okay, so if you guys are out there doing your tactics puzzles, right? You know, your puzzles on chess.com or, you know, whatever they're called off of Lee Chess. I don't really do them on there. But anyway, you would be seeing that you kind of have a check here to this king. But what better can you do other than going a rook takes b4, which is what we see in the game, to deflect the rook over into a damaged, you know, poison square. And then after the rook takes b4, we do see knight going to a6 with check. This is a family, well, not a family fort because that includes the queen. So I guess it'd be like a half family, a mini family fork right here. You got the king and the rook both hit. You are going to be losing your rook for absolutely free. And you are going to be down an entire pawn and an entire piece and 2 pawns against Magnus Carlsen. And that's not where you want to be, man. I wouldn't want to keep playing if that was me, bro. And then you got pressure right here, too, after that. No. No-go. That's a no-go, bro. So, that is that game. So, Malakas seat Magnus Carlsen. And this one, I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. Maraming salamat aking makaibigan po sa nanonood ng aking mga video. Tusen tak. God Morgan to anybody coming from Norway. Bolshoya spasiba. And Privyet. If you are coming up from Russia, kakadela to you. And I'm going to see you guys next time.